Hey guys. Hey Mark.
Chris, how are you?
Good mate. Good. So
Good to see
this
you.
is numero uno,
Number one, first one.
the goals. Yeah. So off the back of our chat on Sunday night and kind of kicking off with this regular banter session online, we thought we'd tick over to these little sort of short, sharp half an hour sessions, which we're going to run during the week. Just picking up on some of the stuff that we chat through and some of the topical stuff. And one of the conversations that I was having with Mark was around we were talking about this sort of new world economy and what we're about to step into, and kind of making the observation that I get this sense that there's going to be a localized economy moving forward. Mark, what were your initial kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've seen that, and certainly with the innovation crowd team that you've been working with, that support your local businesses, support your small businesses. There's been this kind of rush to do that anyway, and so there's definitely going to be, like, we're already starting to see people supporting back into their local community. But there's a couple of ways that idea, we're saying local, but there's a couple of ways that idea of local plays out. So I think the best one is starting with the truest sense, which is literally your local community. Now, I know you've got some insights on that, Chris, because you've been kind of dealing with people like Clive and stuff on that. So you can probably share some quick insights on that local before I kind of broaden that conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because again, startup land, the first thing everyone wants to talk about is how do I globalize my company and globalize my brand. And the great thing is now that the world that we're in still, but that we have been in, has really allowed you to be able to quickly expand and scale into markets beyond just your own backyard. So pretty much anyone who had an effective website and an ability to be able to sell a product or service beyond your shores, could kind of hit that up and start to look at that global piece. But quite obviously now there's restrictions. Yeah.
Yes.
And first and foremost being that that border shutdown. One of the advantages we've got is that we're an island, and it's fantastic for the virus. But maybe not so much when you're starting to build the economy back out again, because we're really going to have to look at what have we got within those borders. And I think one of the great things that we've got within the concentrated areas of Australia is that there is that opportunity for a localized economy build with a lot of companies in those local areas. So I think we're talking about Clive as an example, but that opportunity to collaborate with locals, to kind of work with each other and find out what are you really trying to achieve and what's your objective, and then actually partnering up and working together on a local basis really makes it more accessible, not only to you and to other businesses, but to your customers as well.
I think that's exactly it, right? What this has done is it's forced people to look back again at their local area instead of looking too big, too broad, too quickly when they don't need to. I think that's the gift, right? That's the gift that comes with this, because it wasn't necessarily natural before, and it allows you to then look for the right collaborators that literally could be on your doorstep. So for sure, it's definitely opened up this idea of more local connections. I think the way I would expand that slightly, because you take a business like my own, which is local to me, I kind of view a different way, and that is national or international local. And what do I mean by that? It's more not trying to connect with 5,000 collaborators. It's starting to respect the idea of Dunbar's number, that you have a very tight circle of people that you really have strong relationships with. So I would also talk to this from a space of identify who your local minimized numbers of the right connections and collaborators are, irrespective of whether it's a geographical local connection.
And I think, the think big, start small approach to things.
Yeah.
Thinking big. What I really love is the fact that as a business owner, inevitably what you have to do is zap together that special part of your brain that says, there's an opportunity, there's a problem, I reckon I can do something about it. And you create a solution around that, and you create a business. And almost invariably where that comes from, you speak to the best kind of businesses, even look at Facebook and Google, etc. They've really picked up on those opportunities in their own world. They've seen the problem and understand that if it's a problem for them, it's likely to be a problem for others. So having a global view is fantastic, but actually finding opportunities and building solutions out can quite often start at home, and with that lens of looking for problems and looking for opportunities that can build a business base out from there. And it's easier to see that within your own world and your own surroundings than it is to try and go out and apply this universal global view of how do 7 billion plus people see this, as opposed to, well, how do the 20 odd thousand people in my local community need the product or service that I'm offering?
Well, exactly, because then it's that size and scale, and not like if you can do it locally, you can then extrapolate easily. You learn your lessons, you can grow it that way. So, starting with the local numbers is always a good way. The thing I'd actually talk to for a second, though, Chris, is that also beckons you can't separate this idea of local with collaboration then too. And something I've certainly found over the years has been lots of people want to collaborate in principle, but when push comes to shove, their idea of collaboration and what it really is two different things. Some people's idea of collaboration is they see it, what it's going to do for them. So I want to collaborate because I want to piggyback on the tails, or let's get moving. But they're not really. It's not a true give-give. It's not a true win-win. And so I think that, yes, identify local opportunities, local, but you've got to really curate who are those right collaborators, and not just because you think you're going to get visibility or reach. You got to really identify and get clinical with who's the best collaborators for you.
It's actually not as easy as that sounds too, because it's very easy to go out and kind of say, I want to achieve this objective. Who can do that for me? Let me present it as doing it with me, and help me, help you, help me. Scenario, which is basically saying, hey, bring all your value to the table so I can achieve what I need to achieve, as opposed to what you're suggesting there, which is a genuine collaboration, which is an understanding of maybe a shared goal, and then both leaning in towards that in order to be able to upside it. And I think that's harder than what it first appears.
It is. So that global, and I'll give you just a couple of quick examples how that pans out. When people are looking at that global, let's get big quick, I notice a lot of people might then start trying to connect with people, same industry, or seen as credible, or have got popular followings, and they want to be seen in photos with them. They want to be seen, connected with them. I'm connected with you. Here I am tagging you. Here I am talking with him. So as if I'm magically now imbibed somehow with your gift and skills, when it's not the case. But there's so many people clamoring to connect with people they think are the right people to be seen with, versus the depth of the relationship. That's one way it shows itself. And so this is really a good time to look at the depth and quality of the right connections, the depth and quality for the longevity of that relationship, not just the surface aesthetics of looking good, and not just the quick rush of, hey, it's going to help build my profile aesthetically.
And I guess it's value, this idea that you're visiting in the book that's coming up. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it does come down to that. It's what is the true value behind it? And sometimes, I'm actually a fan of vocalizing the value in new relationships, to actually put a narrative to it, and to actually be able to develop an understanding. I think assuming sometimes that you're on the same objective and the same sort of goals is quite often where people come undone, and potentially a little bit too late down the piece. I sort of think it's one of those things. Don't be afraid to to actually come out and suggest to someone, what I'm trying to achieve is X. If I'm understanding right, what you're trying to achieve is Y. Potentially, we could actually achieve Z if we were to do X and Y together.
So what you're describing is actually the single biggest thing that prevents collaboration. I don't mean in a negative way. It's just we rush to get the outcome because we can see it. But true collaboration takes patience, young Padawan, and spend a little bit more time in the early conversations to really understand what the long game, the strategy, and what's the win look like, the proper win. Because if you don't do that, you invariably end up compromising more than you otherwise would need to, or accommodating more than you would need to, and you're not necessarily going to hit that win. That's true long-term win for both. So absolutely, it's investing the time to really understand what that looks like.
And we were talking about the movie reference the other day, but what collaboration is and what collaboration isn't. And collaboration as a movie reference isn't Tom Hanks in Castaway with Wilson. That's actually piggybacking the value of somebody else. Tom Hanks needed Wilson more than Wilson needed Tom Hanks.
Absolutely. That is a perfect example. I love your viewpoint on that. Love it. And I think the other thing just that you mentioned, like link it back to this local, you know, in the new economy, this experience economy, more people and specifically generational are focusing now on businesses' impact to environment and communities, right? 10 or 15 years ago, the idea of CSR, corporate or community social responsibility was not as prevalent as it is now. And it's really got to be a standard part of your playbook. And that really comes under this service value quadrant, certainly in the model that's coming in the book. And one of those dichotomies is, yes, it's got to be a win for myself. There's got to be like, there's a reason I'm doing this, but what's the win for others? And what's the win for others in my community? Because it's getting back to what we're tribes. We come from sapient tribes of smaller tribes. We're part of our tribe, whether we like it or not. This is an opportunity to make sure whatever we're doing does have an impact on our front doorstep, as well as the bigger world.
Yeah. Hey, just a thought. I noticed that there's someone sitting down the bottom that I'm probably bringing in. Yeah. How would you feel about we drop someone into the room with us?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Here he is.
Razzle.
Gentlemen.
Very youthful-looking Ryan, who's taken his beard off and
very youthful. Baby face again.
Yeah, you know, change is good as a holiday.
Yeah. I love you going the opposite. Everyone else is doing the ISO beard, and you're doing the ISO baby.
I'm doing the ISO shave. I buck the trend. You know that. I have beards when everyone does it, and I shave when everyone's got them.
Yeah. Swim the opposite.
Right now, Ryan, change is the only holiday you're having, mate.
It is, mate. I'm really struggling with this isolation life. I'll be honest. It's
I know you're looking.
Like a caged lion.
So for those that don't know Ryan, let's introduce him properly. I know some of our connections and networks will, but some won't. Ryan Jenkins is the chief eagle of Digital Eagles. He's worked in that digital world. I've known Ryan for many years, like 16 years or thereabouts. And Chris has worked with Ryan and collaborated for a couple as well. And so, yeah, but Ryan's got a plethora of experience in sales, marketing, and certainly is a good local success story. And we're talking local there in the Casey community, you know, born there, bred there, never lived anywhere else.
Never.
And then we're in his business there, right? We did this when we did this. Where have you lived? And Ryan was Casey, mate. That's it, right? So, and he's grown this business from literally working full time, transitioning out of that, and growing the business up to a healthy size in terms of employees, customers, and retention. So we're going to keep this punchy though. The reason we got Ryan in is because we knew the conversation was going to be around local tonight. So Ryan, we're going to give you the stage for literally a couple of minutes, and we won't be rude, we won't be shy in cutting you off to keep things punchy. You're going to have 2-3 minutes tops. Give us some insights and viewpoints around the importance of local and what can people do to really build out that local connection and market.
Yeah. So fortunately enough, for the last couple of minutes, I've been backstage with this cool little StreamYard tool, and I kind of caught some of the end of your conversation. And I think what's one, I've got a local, Casey business, and I think it's the passion for the community that helps me drive value and strong contribution. So I'm connected. I feel passionate about the community, and I feel obliged to want to grow that because I feel part of it. The second thing is I give for the right reason. So I want to, I know that there's not a transaction at the other side of one conversation, and I'm not looking for that. I'm looking to contribute value. I'm looking to build relationship. I'm looking to contribute. I'm looking to help people, not make the same mistakes that I made previously. Or help them, jump a couple of steps ahead or solve their problem quicker than what they would maybe not be able to do it without me. But the other thing that dawned on me is that by me helping, I'm also learning other lessons from what their experiences are as well. So the value that I get from those experiences is it's a I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, but it's reciprocal is the word I'm looking for. So, there are sort of a couple of things that, is the ethos around why I contribute so much to local. And the second thing is just because we're all kind of locked up doesn't mean that we should stop communicating. There's fantastic technology that's available for everybody now. So creating working groups and being the one to to reach out and lead, groups to bring people together, I think's, really valuable, and running, virtual workshops and problem solving sessions is something that we've been doing with both our customers, partners, and also our network when we've had to pivot, almost every single client we've got, and work really collaboratively with partners around what can I do, how can I do it, how quickly can I do it. So it's an interesting time, but there's no better time to be giving.
So I'm keeping an eye on the clock. Let's keep it. I've got a couple of quick questions and do the 30-second version of this. What's then 2 quick things that are business? I'm a business. I'm a local business. I've got my website. I'm trying to hit my market. What are 2 very practical, hands-on things that you would suggest I do from your field of expertise and specialty to do that better?
Keep your customers informed, whether it's text message, email, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Like, you've got so many channels to be able to keep your customers informed around what's happening. So if you've been forced to close, your customers want to still stay connected with you. You've spent years building a relationship. Don't just shut your doors and go into, isolation by yourself. Continue to communicate where you're at. However you do that, if you're pivoting, communicate strongly what you're doing and how you're doing it differently. So if you're a cafe and you're doing takeaway or delivery, then communicate it. Don't think that customers are going to find you because they can't.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent. Now, one final one, Ryan? That was kind of one bundled up. One final tip?
One final tip is there's opportunity absolutely. There's opportunity absolutely everywhere. If you haven't found it, you just haven't spoken to enough people or thought about it enough.
Nice. Excellent.
Hey, just quickly, question without notice, and before you go, I've got to seize on it.
Well,
You're the marketing hero, yeah? Where is this going to go?
Okay.
Let's talk about marketing 12 months from now. Is this going to have an impact at all on marketing, and how do you think it's going to change it, if at all?
Yeah, so I think it's the shot in the arm that digital. It was always going to happen. It's just given it that kind of it's just accelerated it, but astronomically. Like, you saw that Maya got rid of 10,000 people and had to hire 2,500 back to keep up with 8 times online order volume, right? So this won't stop now. Like, once consumers get used to being able to access things online, the pivot won't change. So it's about embracing it and not being scared of it. I think the stats are still ridiculous. 95% of small to medium businesses don't have a digital marketing strategy. That has to change.
Or websites and all the likes. And Ryan, we'll move on in a second, but what you're describing, it's like waves. It's the waves in and out, and it'll find the tidal waves, and then it's going to settle back to find its natural new rhythm in the new world. Now, Chris, Ryan's not going because we've talked on these podcasts. We're going to do something a bit. All the guests, we've primed them. They must bring a whiskey. Ryan, now there's a reason we've done this, and then I'll talk about my piece because Chris likes whiskey. So, Ryan, what whiskey did you bring and why? What are you drinking and why?
Yeah, so I broke the rules slightly, but I got a cognac actually, mate, a Courvoisier cognac because I enjoy it more than whiskey, but it has the same feel. It's the same color.
Nice. Any particular cognac you've got tonight?
Yeah, it's a Courvoisier, I think 16 or 18 year.
I actually think Mark heard you. We just wanted to hear you say it again.
Yeah.
The way that you roll the R. There's a silent somewhere, yeah.
When we set up this podcast, because Chris is like, hey, do you like Scotch? And I grew up in Scotland. I'm part Scottish. I'm like, not really. But we can do that. But in the time that's lapsed, because this was 9 months ago, I've actually stopped drinking. I'm not drinking. So I've got a special thing which I'll share in a minute. But Chris, what Scotch have you got tonight? Because you're going to have a different Scotch each week as well, right? What have you got tonight?
This being the times we've all got to keep a close eye on the budget. I love my single malt, and I have many a nice Scotch that are sitting in the cupboard waiting for friends to come around. But this thing is probably, I think, the world's best kept secret. It's a Glen Manock, and it's a single malt, 21 years. You got to nick down to Audi. It's $89, and I would comfortably say it rivals scotches that would sit at $400 or $500 quite easily. So World's best kept secret.
I love, well, it was, and now the inner tribe of the Hawkman listeners will find it. Now, because I'm not drinking, I'm going to be sampling one of my favorite drinks each week. I'm going to bring a different ginger beer because I love ginger beer. It's one of the oldest soft drinks. Ginger comes from the Middle East. The Romans brought it into Europe. Probably one of the reasons I love it. And then it's been a soft drink since the 1700s. But if I'm going to start with a ginger beer, I'm going to start with what I think is the best one. I'm going to give this business a plug, right? The Bundy. The Bundy ginger beer is the one I'm having tonight. But I've got a few ideas for other ones I'm going to bring in. So in lieu of my alcohol-free days, enjoy your Scotch, boys. Cheers. Ryan, I'll toast you for coming in. Thanks for joining us and dropping in. Okay.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Ryan, we're going to drop you out, and then Chris and I are going to literally move to wrap up anyway. Thanks, mate. Thanks, Ryan, for coming. So, Chris, what's a couple of things, quick ideas, quick summary tips to keep ourselves on time for our guests?
Yeah. So one thing, I love that you kept local even with your ginger beer too. Yeah, let's go the Bundy. But I think key. I love the point that Ryan was just making around transparency and communication. I think we need to recognise that there was a couple of weeks of numbness there for everyone, and that was okay. We were all going through it in our own little world, in our own little pace. But those who are starting to now actively reach out and actively communicate with some level of transparency are getting the best response from their customers and those that they collaborate with. So I think if there was one takeaway that you could kind of say, well, what can I do tomorrow that's going to make a difference on my business? It's to start those conversations immediately. Jump on the phone with your customers, jump on the phone with your suppliers, the people wrapped around your business. Those external stakeholders are important to you. Have those conversations now, and it'll put you in good stead for moving forward.
Yeah, I like that as well. I think Ryan brought some really simple gold nuggets of wisdom. What I love about Ryan, though, is he's walking his talk, because literally, I don't know many people that were born, raised, first home, married in, grew their business in their local area, and he literally is Casey through and through. Right, he bleeds the area, right? And ever since I've known him, he's been like that. And I think that's a really valuable lesson that I get right there, which is actually wake up and don't be so focused on getting so big that you're not a part of your world right here, right? That's one thing I love. I think Ryan's point around the communication that you've picked up on is very valuable. I would just have one caution with that, because I was listening, thinking from my experience. I don't know about you, but I've been getting bombarded with updates from everybody on COVID updates, and half of them are completely irrelevant. I mean, this is businesses that have touched me once. I'm not even a customer. Mm-hmm. And I have been getting absolutely smashed with what they're doing about COVID. And to be quite frank, I don't really care with some of them. Mm-hmm. And so I think the caution I would say is, yes, communicate with your customers, but be clinical and start to filter in a way that, who are those customers? What's the regularity and the depth of contact you need to send to the customers on that basis, not just the contact all. Does that make sense? Have you been seeing that as well? Have you found that?
Yeah, and I think we touched on in our chat the other night, but the simple respect thing of establishing empathy right from the very start, I think is something that people tend to forget. That if you're just going to come at me and start telling me about your world and your problems without even caring about what mine are, I kind of don't really have the time to return anything back to you. And it is amazing still how many people are out there on that side of, this is how it's affected us and this is what we're doing about our staff. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I still want to buy a service from you, but what you're telling me is how you're managing your world. What does it actually mean for me? Somebody who still wants to spend money with you as a customer. Can you kind of tell me where that sits and where that stands? So, and I think that's a basic rule that you can follow, whether you're marketing or whether you're trying to work out how to get that conversation going, is to at least have that level of respect to be able to understand that it's just as much about their world, if not more important, than you trying to communicate what this has meant to you as a business. Yeah. And a lot of that, you're right.
Completely. I mean, it's no different than any level of a leader, of coaching, of selling, is ask the questions and find out about their world and make the information bespoke and more relevant back to their world, for sure. Hey, so we'll move to wrap soon. So again, this is the first kind of full proper one. For those that missed that kind of initial teaser one, Chris and I are going to be getting together. We're going to be doing 2 sessions each week. Now, they're kind of calling them the Sunday night is this pajama raw one. That's literally the banter from the week. Chris and I get together and just kind of have a banter, and we plant some seeds. And then we have a more polished, refined version. So you might notice I'm sitting in the creative chair with my pajamas on the Sunday session as Chris is in a different. This one, it's a bit more structured, and we're going to be bringing in a guest each week. So thanks, Ryan, again, for dropping in with your whiskey. We're going to be sampling those whiskeys. And so make sure you look for the live broadcasts in future as well. We're going to be doing these live. All good, Chris? Anything you want to add, my friend? Awesome to see you.
Good to see you, as always. I just love the fact that these are the normal banter sessions that we would have. It's just now we can actually share these chestnuts across with some of the other guys. But yeah, look, absolutely, we'll be we're playing around with this StreamYard platform, so we'll be able to take that over to live streaming very soon. Yeah, as a reach out, anyone at all who wants to pop in and have a chat, I'd encourage you to DM either myself or Mark, and let's get you online. Let's find out what you're drinking. And yeah, let's see if you got something to share across with the community.
Kind of ideas and themes in mind, so we'll plug you into the themes that we think are going to work. So we'll look forward to our future guests. I know we've already got a couple in mind. So absolutely. Chris, good to see you, my friend. Let's do a cheers and toast that.
I'm going to bring Ryan in just so we can do the final cheers with it.
Yes, back room, is he backstage?
Yeah.
Thanks, gentlemen.
If there was a Mr. Casey competition, you'd be winning it, kid.
Yeah, I'm happy to have that crowd, mate, for sure.
And there's a sash as well, so
yeah, beautiful. I love sashes.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ryan. Cheers, Mark.
Thanks, Ryan. Great to see you guys through the week.
Cheers.
Cheers.